So what are the best ilogies out there? When I say ilogy, I mean best single film, duology, trilogy, quadrilogy, pentalogy, all that kind of stuff. We're going to talk about it in this video. I'm going to share my picks off of my collection and what I have here and some of my favorite movies in different collections and series and stuff. So let's get ready. Let's jump in. So first, single film, and this was challenging for me for two different reasons here. First, it was challenging because it's really hard to pick a single movie that you're just most passionate about, interested in, excited about, all that kind of stuff. And second of all, it's really hard to pick a favorite single film that is not tied to any other franchise, conglomerate, series, spin-offs, prequels, sequels, all that kind of stuff. It's really hard to find single movies that just don't tie into any of those things. So it kind of adds a little bit more fun to the challenge. So first for me, as far as single movie, I'm going to go with the movie Sing Street. This is one of my all-time favorite films. It's definitely somewhere on my top 10 list. And I always enjoy this movie more and more every time I watch it, as well as just love sharing it to friends, introducing it to people. There's many single films that I would consider to be one of my favorites of all time, but I'm just so passionate about Sing Street and the story that it tells, and it's very musically focused and centered, so I just love it for so many different reasons, all the different angles. And then kicking off Duology, this one's another challenging one because there's several different duologies out there that I would consider some of my favorites of all time, but I think the one I'm going to have to pick here is The Raid. So The Raid are some of the absolute greatest action movies ever made. They're visceral, they're just primal in so much of the action sequences throughout this one. There's gunplay, there's hand-to-hand combat, there's martial arts, so much great stunt work and stuff in these movies. They're absolutely incredible. If you haven't had a chance to see them yet, I highly, highly recommend them. Next, continuing on into my favorite trilogy. If you're a follower of mine or a friend of mine, you know this is not going to be a surprise in any kind of way. We have the Lord of the Rings trilogy. These movies are absolutely incredible. I think they are the greatest movies ever made and is my personal favorite trilogy of all time. The story is epic. The characters are incredible. The set pieces are incredible. The effects are really great. Everything holds up really well even over 20 years later. I absolutely love everything about the Lord of the Rings trilogy and so much about Middle-earth, and it's all captured so well throughout these films. Next, with a little bit of an asterisk here, we have the Toy Story movies. Now, I actually don't have any of the Toy Story movies in my collection yet. At this point, I didn't really buy the Toy Story movies for a while just because so much of that stuff is already on Disney+, but I've since kind of changed my opinion on that, so I do want to start collecting them at some point. I just haven't yet, but I absolutely love all of the Toy Story movies. The first three in particular obviously are stand out as ones from my childhood and mean the most to me, but I did really enjoy what Toy Story 4 did as well, and I know this one has some stipulations in that they are continuing on with at least one more Toy Story movie, but for the time being and for the purposes of this video, there are only 4 Toy Story films right now, so that's what we're going to go with, the Toy Story quadrilogy. Next, we have my favorite pentalogy, which is the term I'm going to go with for this one. So my favorite series of 5 films, no more, no less. All of these kind of have to stick to that, at least in this moment of time. So this is one I don't foresee any future films coming out in just because of the way that they've run this series so far. And that is the Rurouni Kenshin films. These were originally a Japanese manga series back in the 90s. And then they also did an anime adaptation. And then they did these live action adaptations as well in the kind of mid to late 2010s into the 2020s. So as far as the collection goes, you have Rurouni Kenshin Origins, and then you have Kyoto Inferno, then you have The Legend Ends, and then you have The Beginning, or the end, the beginning, so that's the beginning of the end, and then you have this prequel one that all takes place before the events of the rest of these 4 films. But all in all, it is a 5-film series of fantastic storytelling, great characters, amazing sword fights throughout all of these films. Definitely one of my favorite franchises of all time, and I'm really happy that we got a consistent, solid 5 films in this series that are all really great for many different reasons. And then as far as this video is going to go, we have my favorite 6-film or hexology we're going to go with, 6-film series. This is another one kind of like Toy Story where they are working on a 7th film, but for the time being and for the purposes of the timestamp of this video, we're going to go with this 6-film series, and that is Scream. So kicking things off, you have the Scream trilogy, the first 3 films, Scream 4 or Scriforum as some people say. Then you have Scream, which is Scream 5. This is the 2-movie 4K collectioner with the remaster, the first one. And then Scream 6. I really love all of these movies. I didn't watch them growing up at all. They were ones that I kind of discovered in my adulthood and just really fell in love with. I grew up in the 90s, so I really appreciated all that these did kind of for 90s culture, and now as they've come into the modern age as well. And then as just I've gotten into more horror films over the past decade or so, just the appreciation that these movies show and the love that they show for horror movies in general and the horror culture is really cool, that the way that it kind of pays homage to it and kind of plays with all of those different tropes as well. So those are my picks for my top different ilogies all the way up through 6. I was going to go beyond it all the way to 10, but once you get past 6, there's just not that many series out there, and I didn't want to just pick one based on the fact that it's one or two of the ones that I've actually seen at that point. So for this video, that's all we're going to do as far as I'm going to go. There would be, if we were to go on to like 8, I would probably pick Mission Impossible, even though I haven't seen the new Mission Impossible yet. Even further than that, and you got like the James Bond series or the Pink Panther series or even like Fast and Furious and stuff. So there's much more you could have done beyond that. Feel free to share those in the comments. I would love to hear more of your picks as well as your and more of your favorite ilogies in the comments as well. Thanks for sticking around. I will see you in the next one.